Today, we bring you a striking exchange from a House committee hearing where Congresswoman Julie Johnson of Texas, a Democratic representative known for her fierce advocacy on civil liberties, confronted ICE leadership head-on. What she laid out was not theory, not partisan rhetoric, but a real story, a real family, and a real death that didn't have to happen. As the Trump administration continues to double down on its hardline immigration posture, this hearing exposed something the administration would rather you not see.
Gentleman yields back. I now recognize the gentlelady from Texas, Ms. Johnson, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to, Mr. Lyons, I wanted to just follow up on a statement that you just made, which is that if you're here legally and lawfully, you should not worry. I think the problem is there are many, many immigrants that are here legally and lawfully that are very worried because they have been snatched off the streets. They have had their face beat in by ICE agents. They've been yanked out of their car. They've been driven around and harassed. And so that is, I think, at the end of the day, you know, the key nut of the crux here, which is that, unfortunately, there is not just this focus on criminals and that people who are here in legal status. And for example, I have an example of this that I'd like to highlight for you. Back in October, Maher Tarabishi, a North Texas resident who was allowed to be in this country legally and was under a supervision order to check in on an annual basis since 2008, and did that because he had an adult disabled son. And so he was here working as an IT consultant and was here in the legal process to take care of his adult legal son. He went to check into his appointment. It so happened to be at the time that the Dallas ICE office was closed due to the shooting. And so he was not able to check in. When he went back to check in, he was immediately snatched up and detained because he missed his appointment. That was unavoidable because the office was closed. He told everyone here was he in legal status. He had been here since 2008, and he had an adult disabled son that would likely pass away if he was not released. He was not released. His son died. And then to complicate it, he was not allowed to go and attend the funeral. And he's still in detention in the Bluebonnet facility in Texas. He is not a criminal. He has no criminal history. He was here legally. That is an unacceptable outcome. And I would like to know if you are willing to review his case and help us get his release, because he should not be in the Bluebonnet detention facility under these facts.
Yes, ma'am. I'm committed to reviewing that case for you.
I appreciate that. The other issue that I am really very concerned about is these warrantless entries into people's homes. It is a problem that is of epic proportion. There was just recently, yesterday, circulation, a Latino family, ICE just broke into their home without a warrant. And there was an example where they arrested a man in his pajamas who had every right to be here as a U.S. citizen, but wrongfully snatched out in the freezing cold without a warrant to do so. The problem that we're having, nobody wants to see attacks on ICE agents, sir. But this is something I have brought up in this committee time and time again, which is, unfortunately, under your leadership and under Secretary Noem's leadership, this rogue brutality that ICE agents are inflicting upon the people of this country is not being reined in. It's not being, the agents who are abusing their power are not being held accountable. I'm sure that there are many, many fine agents who are doing everything they can to exercise their duty lawfully. But the problem is there are agents who are not. And the power that they have has gone to their head, and they use that power unconstitutionally in violation of many people's direct constitutional rights. And what you're seeing in this country is the fact that your agency, it's not stopping. And rather than saying, yes, we're going to take steps to keep these people who are abusing their power and who are terrorizing citizens of this country wrongfully, that we're going to hold them accountable, rather than well, that's what we want to see. You're doubling down on that we're only going after criminals, which is in your own comments. You said that you had 379,000 arrests, but only 8,700 of them were suspected gang members or known suspected terrorists. That's 2%. And the problem is we can't terrorize 98% of the people in this country that have been wrongfully detained for 2%. That's not how the system works, and that is not okay. And so we have to do a better job. And so what procedures are you putting in place to hold agents accountable who clearly have a hot trigger and who clearly abuse their authority because someone has a phone and a whistle?
Ma'am, ICE does have the Office of Professional Responsibility. It's a robust internal investigation agency that does investigate allegations of special agent or deportation officer misconduct. And we do take everyone seriously, and we do investigate those.
Well, those are not being publicly reported, and so that's where there's a huge breach of the public trust, because there does not appear to be any accountability, sir. Thank you, and I'll yield back.
It was a mirror held up to the face of an administration that has repeatedly told the American people, if you're here legally, you have nothing to worry about. Congresswoman Julie Johnson just shattered that talking point, not with opinion, but with a name, Mahar Tarabishi, a man who followed every rule this country asked him to follow. A man who checked in with ICE every single year since 2008. A man whose only crime, if you can even call it that, was showing up to an appointment at an office that the government itself had closed. And for that, he was detained. For that, his disabled son died alone. For that, he was denied the dignity of attending his own child's funeral. And tonight, as we speak, he remains locked inside the Bluebonnet detention facility in Texas, not because he is a threat, not because he broke the law, but because the system that was supposed to protect legal residents chose instead to punish one. But Congresswoman Johnson forced a number into the record that deserves to sit with every American tonight. Of the 379,000 arrests carried out under this ICE apparatus, only 8,700, roughly 2%, were connected to suspected gang activity or terrorism. 2%. That means the overwhelming majority of people swept up in this enforcement machine are not the monsters this administration needs you to imagine. They are workers. They are parents. They are, in some cases, United States citizens dragged from their homes in their pajamas, in the freezing cold, without so much as a warrant. And that brings us to what may be the most constitutionally alarming element of this entire hearing, warrantless entry into private homes. The Fourth Amendment is not a suggestion. It is not a guideline that ICE agents may follow when convenient. It is a foundational pillar of American liberty, one that was written precisely to protect the people from the unchecked power of the state. And yet, we are watching, in real time, that protection being eroded not in some distant authoritarian regime, but here, in American neighborhoods, against American families. When pressed on accountability, ICE leadership pointed to the Office of Professional Responsibility, an internal body that, by Congresswoman Johnson's own account, produces no public reports and offers no visible consequences for misconduct. This is power exercised not in pursuit of justice, but in service of a political narrative, one that requires a constant supply of fear, a constant enemy, and a public willing to look the other way. Mahar Tarabishi was not an enemy of this nation. He was a father. And this system took everything from him not because it had to, but because it could.